Okay, this is disclosure number 4, and this was originally on the list, I think more like number 44, but it's a colorful one. And this has to do with the fact that when I was 4 years old, I basically started a fire in the house. I intentionally started a fire in the house where we lived, resulting in the family needing to move out of that apartment. And I feel like confessing now. My mother said that the insurance company was interviewing me, and the insurance agent was asking me something like, "Did I play with fire?" or something like that, and I said no. And then he was asking me different questions. My mother said, if he had simply said to you, "Did you light that doll on fire?" I would have said yes. But they tried to outsmart me, so I outsmarted the insurance agent. But nonetheless, what I did was my sister had a doll with blonde hair. And I burned up the doll's blonde hair with matches that I took from my parents. This happened when I was around 4. Now, in this video series, there's an earlier video where I'm talking about specifically with my sister. And this has to do with my sister, of course, because it was her doll. But I think we were younger at that point. I think the earlier episodes of her, I'm saying, molesting me were when I was a bit older. This memory, well, no, this event was, I think I was 3 years old when I torched the doll. So why did I torch the doll? Oh, what happened was that, yeah, I was out in the front room with my family, my mother and my father. I can't remember exactly who was there. It seems to me it was maybe like after dinner, and everybody else was in one room or at different parts, and I was just able to go grab some matches because both of my parents were smokers. Both of my parents smoked until they couldn't anymore. Both of my parents. So my insanity in that regard is partly cultural, or I guess ancestral. Actually, both of my sets of grandparents on my mother's side and my father's side had people involved with mining coal. Maybe I have some ancestral memory of that I'm hanging on to. I wouldn't be surprised. Or of the people that must have died in the coal mines, among my ancestors. Anyway, my father had left, or my father anyway at one point left us. He took my brothers to a different province, leaving me with my sister and my mother. And it was after that I torched my sister's doll, lighting the doll's golden hair on fire. And it burned up, and then the doll caught on fire. And I went out of the bedroom, closed the door, went down, sat with everybody else, and next thing we knew, people were shouting and there was smoke in the apartment, and there was a big hubbub, and somebody called the fire department, and the fire department came, the fire engine came. I think they actually sprayed water in the apartment. And after that, there was, yeah, we moved from that house after that. And I do remember talking to the insurance agent, but I don't remember anybody saying anything to me really about having set that fire until years later my mother brought it up, or it came up, that I had outsmarted the insurance agent with my honesty. Which is all fine and dandy, but something was up with me to want to do that. I had a hatred for my sister, or this powerful, no, not hatred, rage. It was rage directed at my sister, which was somewhat unfair, because the whole female side, my mother and her mother, whom I met, my maternal grandmother, and then my sister, they had some powerful, I guess, raging going on in that branch of my family, those women. And I fell under that somewhat in the absence of a strong male figure. And the male figure, my father, my paternal father, my biological father, left me with these two women. And I guess the word predatory comes to mind right now. I don't know if that's how I felt, or how it was, but there was a battle going on between my mother and my sister for my whole life, for my sister's whole life. Anyway, I guess what's kind of interesting about that is that at 3 years old, you don't have a lot of, you don't bear a lot of responsibility, if you're lucky, in a way. I gotta hand it to my parents. I didn't get a beating, or I didn't get shamed or anything about the actual fire itself. My parents, in a way, were awesomely tolerant. Maybe that was only my mother. Anyway, my mother was tolerant. But the truth of it is kind of more like, I don't know what to think about my mother and my sister and my ancestors. And if I can have such blind spots, for example, about what was really going on for me when I held the burning match up to the doll's blonde hair. For some reason, I hated that doll. Fire, Agnes, I guess, in Sanskrit. It's the first chakra, I think, fire. Our basic creative energy is a fire element. Yeah, the young male needs an older male to protect him from the females. That's true, actually. The females are going to treat the male, the vulnerable young male, in a way that suits them. Well, I say that, and I did meet in my life single moms who were awesomely balanced, and that's possible too. Especially if those single moms had a good father figure themselves, right? As far as arson goes, that was my big one. In elementary school, I remember there was a thing with a clothespin, a wooden clothespin, had a spring, and in those days, we could still easily get wooden matches. So there was a way that you could make a gun out of a clothespin that would actually not only send the stick flying, but igniting it. So making a little gun that would fling a little burning match, like 10 feet. So of course that was great fun. And one day somebody had one in a back alley and did that, and there was a big patch of grass, dried grass in that alley, and that grass lit on fire and we ran away. And after that I haven't really done any burning, except for now. Look at me. I never made that connection. I'm burning my throat, I'm burning my mouth with this smoking business. I've got a problem with the fire. I'm a fire abuser. It's first chakra. Yeah. You feel ashamed of your habit, and then meanwhile within the habit there's also shame that one doesn't understand, right? I can understand the shame of hurting myself, self-abusing myself in a destructive way, self-destructive way. Yeah, I understand how to be ashamed about that, or why, the parameters of that, but I don't as well understand why I'm ashamed. Well, I guess am I ashamed of having lit the doll on fire? Maybe I'm ashamed of all kinds of things that I've done in my life and in past lives, I guess. People that I may have killed and done whatever to. I suppose that's the thing. I think we carry shame with us. And ashamed of being a coal miner, even though I never was. But my family members were. My grandparents, my great-grandparents were coal miners, so how much self-esteem issues might have trickled down from that career path down the pit. And wanting to say, like we learned about intergenerational trauma. In Canada, we became aware of that as a concept, as a phenomenon during the 2010s Truth and Reconciliation meetings that were held across Canada over a period of many months. And we heard stories of Native people who had been abused in these residential schools, and the stories that came out. And since the policy lasted for more than 100 years, right up until 1997, I think, those people were talking about what had happened to their parents and what had happened to their grandparents, and then how their own lives were. And then, meanwhile, interestingly, in many Native traditions, in North America, for example, and in Africa, there are these traditions of talking to the elders and checking in with the elders, Chinese too, of course, asking the elders for help and checking in with the elders and how's it going there. And that's one level of healing.